The twin suns of Arelon hung low in the sky, painting the desert with shades of gold and amber. Endless dunes rolled toward the horizon, shining like an ocean made of sand. On the edge of this vast emptiness stood an old research station built by humans decades ago. It was quiet and lonely, except for the soft hum of machines and the gentle whistle of the wind. Inside the outpost, Captain Mira sat at the main console, watching a stream of unreadable data move across her screen. She had been stationed on Arelon for 6 months with her small team. Their mission was to study the planet's geological patterns, but their work had turned dull long ago. Every day felt the same until the signal came. At first, Mira thought it was a system error. The scanners had suddenly picked up a repeating pulse from the southern desert. It was faint, buried under layers of static, but it was too structured to be natural. It had rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. She leaned forward, narrowing her eyes as the pulse repeated at perfect intervals. "Ran, can you check this again?" she called out. Ran, the team's engineer, walked over, wiping dust from his hands. "Probably another sand echo," he said with a grin. "You know how this place plays tricks on our sensors?" "Look at the pattern," Mira replied. "It's not random. It's a sequence." Ron frowned and leaned closer. The numbers on the screen repeated in groups of 3, then 5, then 3 again. He rubbed his chin thoughtfully. "That's strange. Almost like a coded message." Tova, the linguist, turned her chair toward them. She had been reading through old records of the local cultures, fascinated by their stories. "Maybe it's connected to the legends," she said. "The desert tribes speak of a king buried under the sands, guarded by golden beasts that never sleep. They say his tomb glows when the stars align." Bren, the pilot, chuckled from his seat near the window. "Golden beasts and glowing tombs. Sounds like a good bedtime story." But Mira didn't smile. She stared at the signal again. The pattern was too deliberate to be a myth. "Maybe the legend came from something real," she said quietly. "If there is technology under the sand, it might be ancient. And if it's still active, it could be older than any human record." The room fell silent for a moment. Outside, the wind howled, brushing against the metal walls. The sound reminded Mira of waves hitting a forgotten shore. "Let's trace the source," she said at last. "Pack light. We leave at dawn." By sunrise, the team was ready. The air shimmered with heat as their rover rolled out of the outpost, its tires crunching softly on the sand. The journey took them across silent dunes that stretched as far as the eye could see. Now and then, small crystal fragments glimmered under the suns like scattered stars. Tova sat beside Mira, holding a small tablet filled with translation notes. She kept glancing at the horizon as if expecting to see something rise out of the sand. "You know," she said, "the tribes call this place the Valley of Roars. They believe the wind carries the voice of the Lion King who once ruled this world. When the wind is strong, they say he is speaking to the stars." Mira smiled faintly. "Do they say what kind of ruler he was?" Tova nodded. "Kind but powerful. He brought peace between many worlds. When he died, his people built golden beasts to protect his rest. They say no one unworthy can enter his tomb." Ran adjusted his scanning device from the back seat. "Let's hope we count as worthy, then," he said lightly. Hours passed and the dunes grew steeper. By midday, the rover's sensors began to pick up faint traces of energy. The signal grew stronger as they approached a canyon hidden between 2 ridges. The air was cooler there and the sand had turned darker, almost bronze. Mira stopped the rover and stepped out. The heat wrapped around her like a heavy blanket, but she ignored it. She could feel something beneath her boots, a low vibration, steady and rhythmic, matching the pulse from the signal. "Right under us," Ron said, scanning the ground. "Depth is about 40 meters. Looks like a hollow chamber." They began to search for an entrance, brushing away sand and stones. After an hour, Bren called out, "Over here." He was standing by a half-buried slab of metal carved with strange symbols. The design showed 2 lions facing each other, their paws resting on a sun-shaped crest. Between them was a single word written in a script none of them recognized. Tova knelt down, tracing the lines with her fingers. "This is old," she murmured. "Older than any known language on Arelon. But I can recognize the structure. It's ceremonial. Maybe it says something like protector or guardian." Mira ran her hand across the crest. It felt warm to the touch, as if sunlight lived inside the metal. "Ron, can you open it?" He set up a small energy scanner, trying to locate a control mechanism. "It's sealed tight," he said, "but the energy flow is still active. Maybe it's waiting for a specific trigger. Like what? Bren asked. Maybe sound or movement or even thought, Tova said softly. If the golden beast were real, maybe their technology reacts to intention. The stories say they can sense purpose. Mira took a slow breath. Let's test that theory. She stepped back and placed her hand over the crest again. We are explorers, she said clearly. We come with respect. We seek knowledge, not harm. For a moment nothing happened. Then a soft vibration ran through the sand. The slab shimmered as golden light traced the lion's outlines. The ground beneath them trembled, and a narrow path opened between the stones, revealing a staircase descending into the darkness below. Ron's eyes widened. Well, that's new, Tova whispered. The tomb of the Lion King. Mira looked down into the glowing passage. She could feel a gentle current of cool air rising from below. We go together, she said. Stay close and keep your scanners on. The staircase led them deep underground. The walls were smooth and glowed faintly with moving patterns of light. As they descended, the sound of the wind above faded away, replaced by a low hum like distant music. The deeper they went, the cooler the air became. Tova ran her hand along the carvings on the wall. These symbols tell stories, she said. Look, here the king stands before a crowd of different beings, some human, some not. They are offering him gifts. He must have united them somehow. Mira nodded, following the line of murals. The images seemed to come alive in the golden glow, showing ships in the sky, cities of crystal, and lions with shining armor standing beside the king. Ron recorded every detail with his scanner. The energy signatures in these walls are incredible, he said. This is not decoration. It's technology built into the structure. The staircase ended at a massive doorway made of the same warm metal as the surface slab. 2 golden lions stood on either side, each one twice the height of a human. Their eyes were made of gemstones that shimmered faintly in the dim light. Bren took a step back. They look almost real, he said quietly. Tova smiled a little. Maybe that's the point. Mira walked closer. The lion's eyes seemed to follow her. The air around the doorway felt alive, charged with silent awareness. She could feel it studying her, waiting. We're standing at the edge of history, she said softly. No one has seen this in thousands of years. Ron approached carefully, holding up his scanner. The energy levels are rising. The statues are active but stable. It's like they're in sleep mode. Then let's not wake them, Bren muttered. Mira looked up at the massive gate. In its center was a round mark, shaped like a sun with 12 rays. She reached toward it but stopped just before touching it. We stop here for today, she said. We'll bring the rest of our equipment and set up camp outside. We'll enter the main chamber once we're prepared. The team nodded, though none of them wanted to leave. As they climbed back toward the surface, the golden light on the walls dimmed, as if the tomb itself were going back to sleep. When they emerged into the daylight, the suns were setting, turning the desert sky a deep red. They stood together, watching the horizon. The wind carried a faint sound that could almost have been a roar. Tova broke the silence. Do you think the legend is true? Mira looked toward the canyon below, where the hidden doorway now rested under its veil of golden sand. Every legend starts with a truth, she said, and we just found the beginning of one. That night, as the team camped near the canyon, the stars above shimmered brighter than usual. Far below, the golden lions watched silently, their gemstone eyes glowing faintly in the dark. The tomb of the Lion King had been found, and it was no longer sleeping. The first light of dawn spilled across the desert, turning the sand into a sea of soft gold. Captain Mira stood outside the camp, staring at the canyon below, where the entrance to the tomb rested under its quiet layer of dust. The events of the previous day still played in her mind. She had seen the sand move on its own and light come alive from metal older than human history. Behind her, the camp stirred to life. Ron was checking the scanners and tightening the straps on his tool pack. Bren prepared the rover, loading new energy cells and checking the navigation link to their base. Tova sat near a small table, reviewing her notes from the carvings. Her eyes glowed with curiosity. Mira walked back toward them and said, We go down again. This time we take full recording equipment and illumination drones. Whatever we find inside, we document everything. Ron smiled slightly. Good plan, Captain. I also adjusted the scanner frequencies to match the tomb's energy pattern. It should help us see things we could not before. Bren grinned as he looked up from the rover. Just tell me we are not spending the night down there. Those statues already gave me enough chills for a week. Tova laughed softly. Maybe they will like you this time if you smile. Bren rolled his eyes but said nothing more. The humor helped to ease the quiet tension they all felt. After breakfast, the team packed their supplies and began the descent once more. The path was narrow and steep, winding through the canyon. The sand had shifted overnight, leaving faint trails that shimmered as if touched by light from below. When they reached the slab entrance, it was exactly as they had left it, though the lion's eyes seemed brighter under the morning sun. Mira placed her hand over the crest again and repeated her words from before. We come with respect and peace. The golden lines came to life and the pathway opened. Cool air rose from below like a soft breath from the past. They began their journey down the long staircase. The air grew cooler and carried a faint scent of metal and stone. The glow on the walls returned, moving gently like ripples of sunlight through water. The sound of their footsteps echoed softly, creating a rhythm that made the place feel alive. Tova whispered, "It feels like we are walking through a memory." Mira nodded. Maybe we are. They reached the base of the staircase where the massive gate and the golden lion stood. The statues looked as calm as before, but now their eyes reflected the light from the drones in long golden streaks. Ron pointed at the base of one statue. The design here is more than decoration. These lines form an energy grid. It is like a heartbeat for the entire chamber. Tova stepped closer, studying the carvings on the gate. This is a language built from symbols of nature. Look here, the sun, the river, the mountain, and the lion. Together they mean balance. Maybe the gate opens only for those who seek balance. Mira listened carefully. So the tomb tests not strength but purpose. Ron looked at her and smiled. That explains why it responded to your words yesterday. Mira turned to the gate. The golden sun symbol in the center shone faintly as if waiting. She hesitated, then reached out and touched it lightly. The air vibrated. A low sound filled the hall, not loud but deep, as though the walls themselves were singing. The lion's eyes brightened. Slowly the gate split in the middle and began to slide open, revealing a corridor bathed in soft golden light. Bren exhaled. It opened. We are actually going in. Mira took the first step forward. Stay alert. No sudden moves. We don't know what kind of systems are still active. The corridor stretched far into the distance. The walls were lined with smooth panels engraved with pictures and symbols. The team's footsteps echoed gently, giving the feeling that they were not alone. Tova stopped beside one of the panels. Look at this. It shows the Lion King surrounded by people of many kinds. Some are human, others are not. He is holding a sphere of light and they are reaching toward it together. Ron scanned the panel. The sphere emits a weak energy signature even though it's just part of the wall. This technology is beyond anything we know. Mira studied the carvings. The king's face was calm and kind. His eyes were shaped like stars and a crown rested lightly on his head. Around him, the golden beasts stood in silence, guarding but also guiding. As they moved deeper, the corridor opened into a wide hall filled with pillars that shone faintly under the light of their drones. The ceiling was high and arched, covered in tiny crystals that reflected light like stars in a night sky. Ron set his scanner on the ground. The readings are unusual. The energy pattern here moves like waves, not constant but pulsing in rhythm, almost like breathing. Tova walked slowly among the pillars. The tribe said the tomb is alive in spirit. Maybe this is what they meant. Bren turned his drone upward, lighting the ceiling. If this is all a tomb, it feels more like a temple. Peaceful, not gloomy. They continued forward until they reached the center of the hall, where a circular platform stood slightly raised above the floor. In its center lay a disc with the image of a lion and 12 rays around it. Mira approached carefully. The disc began to glow under her boots. It is reacting to presence again, she said. Record everything. Tova began to take pictures and sketch the patterns. Each ray has markings that match constellations from ancient records. Maybe this place was aligned with the stars when it was built. Ron nodded. That could explain the signal we picked up. The energy might activate only when the suns reach a certain position. Bren looked around uneasily. So the tomb wakes up with the light of the suns. That means we are inside it when it's awake. Mira smiled slightly. Then we should listen while it is speaking. Beyond the platform, they found another passage leading deeper underground. The walls became smoother and the light more constant. The carvings now showed the golden beasts standing beside the king as he taught different species. They held crystals and tools, not weapons. Tova ran her hand along the wall. This king was not remembered for war. He was remembered for teaching peace. Look at how every creature in these carvings is learning, not fighting. Ron said softly. The energy here supports that idea. It is steady and calm like a balanced pulse. No sign of defense systems. Mira looked thoughtful. Maybe the real test is not about surviving but about understanding. They reached a small chamber filled with round stone tables. On each table lay an orb made of transparent crystal. Inside each orb swirled faint golden light moving like smoke. Ran lifted his scanner. These orbs still hold energy. The design is similar to memory storage technology. Maybe they contain records or messages. Tova leaned closer to one of them. The markings on the table are words. They say, to those who come from afar, listen and remember. Mira nodded. Let's activate one carefully. Ron touched a small panel on the table. The orb flickered, then projected an image above it. A figure appeared, tall and graceful, wearing a crown that shimmered with faint light. His voice was calm and musical. Traveler, the figure said, you have entered the place of the Lion King. You are welcome if your heart carries respect. Here lies the wisdom of unity, born not from power but from balance. Those who seek greed will find silence. Those who seek understanding will find truth. The image faded, leaving the room silent again. Tova's eyes were bright with wonder. This is history speaking to us directly. The Lion King was real and he wanted others to learn from him. Mira stood quietly, absorbing the moment. He left this message for someone like us. Maybe he knew others would come one day. They explored the rest of the chamber, finding more orbs but leaving them untouched for now. The air felt gentle, almost welcoming. Ron turned off his scanner and smiled. Every signal we record from this place could help us learn more about ancient technology and about peace itself. Bren glanced toward the corridor they had come from. Let's head back before the sun set. We can return tomorrow with more equipment, Mira agreed. We have seen enough for today. The tomb is more than we expected. It deserves patience. As they retraced their steps, the walls seemed to glow brighter for a moment, as if acknowledging their presence. The golden lions at the gate waited silently when they reached them again. Their gemstone eyes flickered softly, almost like a nod. When the team stepped out into the canyon, the warm air of the desert greeted them. The suns were lowering in the sky, casting long shadows over the sand. Mira turned back one last time, watching the doorway close behind them. The golden light faded, and silence returned. Tova said softly, "The tomb trusts us now." Mira looked at her team with pride. Then we will prove worthy of that trust. As night fell over the desert, the signal from beneath the sands continued its quiet rhythm, a heartbeat of ancient wisdom echoing through time. The morning air was cool when the suns rose over the golden dunes. A thin mist floated above the desert floor, glowing faintly in the light. Captain Mira stood at the edge of the canyon, looking down where the entrance to the tomb lay hidden under the sand. She could still feel the quiet hum that came from below, like a deep memory calling out to be heard. Behind her, the camp was busy again. Ron checked the scanners that had been recording the energy signal all night. The readings were stronger than before. "The pulse has increased in rhythm," he said. "It's like the tomb is aware of us now." Tova sat nearby, writing in her digital journal. "The message we heard from the Lion King yesterday said those who seek understanding will find truth. Maybe the tomb knows our purpose and is guiding us." Bren stretched his arms and smiled. "If the tomb is aware, let's hope it likes visitors. I would prefer not to get locked inside." Mira smiled slightly. "No one is getting locked anywhere. We go slowly and respectfully. Whatever lives in there deserves patience." They packed their gear and started down the canyon once again. The sand sparkled under their boots. When they reached the metal slab, Mira repeated her words of greeting. The golden lines glowed at once and the stone door opened smoothly, welcoming them inside. The descent felt different this time. The air was lighter, the golden glow warmer. It was as if the tomb recognized them. The walls reflected their light, in gentle waves, and soft sounds echoed faintly like distant whispers. When they reached the grand hall where the golden lion stood, the team stopped. The two statues looked alive in the glow of the drones. Their eyes shone with steady golden light, and faint energy ripples moved under their metallic skin. Rayan lifted his scanner. The readings are changing. The statues are active again. There is movement inside them, but no danger signs. Bren frowned. Movement inside statues does not sound peaceful to me. Tova studied the lions carefully. Maybe they are not here to stop us. Maybe they are here to learn who we are. Mira stepped forward slowly. If they are guardians, they must understand purpose. Let's see if they respond like before. She stood a few steps away from the nearest lion and spoke calmly. We have come again with respect. We wish to learn about the Lion King and his wisdom. The lion's eyes brightened. The light spread from its head down to its paws, and a faint vibration filled the room. The other lion glowed as well. Then both raised their heads slightly, their gaze fixed on Mira. The team stood still, watching. The air shimmered between the statues, forming thin lines of golden light that moved together like flowing threads. The lines twisted and joined, creating symbols in the air. Tova gasped softly. They are speaking. Ron adjusted his scanner to capture the symbols. The pattern matches the ancient writing on the gate. Mira took a slow step forward. What are they saying? Tova studied the moving lights. It says, state your reason. Are you seeker or taker? Mira answered clearly. We are seekers. We wish to understand and share the wisdom of your king. The symbols changed shape. The lights pulsed softly as if thinking. Then the lions lowered their heads, and a low humming sound filled the hall. The gate behind them began to open again, revealing another corridor filled with golden light. Ron smiled with wonder. They accepted your words, Captain. Bren whispered. Remind me to never argue with glowing lions. The team moved forward through the newly opened corridor. The golden beasts remained behind, their eyes watching silently. The light from their bodies grew softer, as if they were standing guard once more. Inside the corridor, the walls were smoother than before, covered with patterns that looked like waves and stars. The air smelled faintly of flowers, though no plants grew there. The path curved gently downward, leading them to another wide chamber. In the center of the room stood a round platform surrounded by shallow pools of clear water. The water reflected the golden ceiling, making it seem like the sky was above and below them. On the far wall was a carving of a lion's face with calm eyes and a kind expression. Tova walked closer, tracing the symbols carved beside the face. This says, when the heart is open, the path reveals itself. Mira stepped onto the platform. The surface lit up under her feet. The pools of water rippled and the reflection of the lion's face on the wall began to move. Its eyes turned toward her, glowing softly. Ryan whispered, It's active again. The entire room is a living system. The carved lion spoke in a calm voice that filled the chamber. Travelers of distant stars, you have come far. Your courage and patience have opened the second path. Before you continue, you must prove your purpose. Not through strength, but through harmony. Mira glanced at her team. Harmony, she repeated. What do we do? The lion's eyes brightened and beams of light appeared from the ceiling, forming shapes in the air. The shapes became figures of animals made of pure golden light. A bird, a fish, a deer, and a lion. Each figure moved gracefully in the air before slowly turning toward Mira. Tova's voice was soft. They are symbols of life. Maybe we must understand their pattern. The animals began to move in a circle, their light forming lines that crossed and merged. The lines pulsed in rhythm, creating a gentle sound like music. Mira watched carefully and realized that the lights moved in patterns that matched the signal they had discovered days earlier. It is a language of rhythm, she said. The same pulse from the sand. They are testing if we can feel the pattern, not just see it. Ron adjusted his scanner to the same rhythm. The lights responded, glowing brighter. The music grew clearer, forming a gentle melody. The lion's voice returned. Balance is the heart of wisdom. Those who walk in harmony walk with truth. The lights faded and the room became still. Then a soft beam of light appeared on the far side of the chamber, shining on a narrow door. Tova smiled with awe. We passed the test. Mira nodded. We continue. They stepped through the narrow door and entered a hallway made of smooth golden stone. The air here felt warmer, and the hum of energy was stronger. The walls were covered in moving images that showed the history of the Lion King's realm. They saw cities of crystal towers rising among green hills. Beings of many kinds worked together, building and learning side by side. The Lion King stood among them, guiding them with calm eyes and steady hands. Tova spoke softly. He was more than a ruler. He was a teacher. Rand pointed at another image showing the golden beast standing beside the king. These guardians were his creation. They were not built for battle. They were built to protect knowledge. Mira watched the images in silence. The scenes glowed with peace and beauty. This tomb is not a place of death, she said. It is a monument of wisdom. The hallway opened into another chamber. This one was circular and filled with floating crystal spheres. Each sphere emitted gentle light, and when they moved closer, the light formed scenes of different worlds. Oceans, mountains, forests, and skies filled with stars. Bren looked around in amazement. These are not only memories of this planet. Some of these are places I have seen in the exploration archives. The technology can store and project entire worlds. Tova nodded. The Lion King's knowledge was shared across galaxies. He wanted others to remember harmony everywhere. Mira reached out and touched one of the spheres. The image changed to show a human city far away, full of people walking peacefully. The sphere glowed brighter and released a single line of text in the air. Peace is not found. It is created. Mira read the words aloud. Her voice echoed softly. Peace is created. That must have been his message to everyone who would come after. As they stood in silence, a faint sound reached them from behind. It was the deep hum of the golden lions from the previous hall. The sound was calm, almost musical. Ron smiled. The guardians are awake but not angry. They are singing. The sound grew softer and seemed to blend with the hum of the chamber. The team felt an unspoken connection, as if the tomb was welcoming them as part of its story. Mira turned toward her team. We should return soon. The data we have now is more valuable than anything we expected. Tomorrow we go deeper, but tonight we rest and review everything. They left the chamber slowly, each of them glancing back at the glowing spheres. The golden light followed them to the gate, where the lions waited silently once again. Their eyes glowed warmly, reflecting the light from the drones. Tova smiled at them. Thank you, guardians. The lions lowered their heads slightly, then stood still again as the humans walked past. The gate closed behind them with a gentle hum. When they reached the surface, the suns were setting. The desert sky turned pink and orange. Mira looked at the canyon, where faint golden light still shimmered under the sand. The guardians are awake, she said softly, and they trust us. Tova nodded. Maybe they have waited for humans to return for a very long time. Mira looked at the horizon where the suns met the dunes. Then we will not disappoint them. Tomorrow we find what lies beyond the Guardian's Hall. As night settled over the desert, the stars appeared one by one, shining like small fires across the sky. And far beneath the sand, the golden lions kept their silent watch, their eyes glowing with calm light, waiting for the next dawn when the humans would return again. The night on Aralon passed quietly. The desert air was cool and calm, and the stars hung bright over the dunes. Captain Mira did not sleep much. Her mind was full of golden light and soft voices that seemed to echo through her dreams. She kept seeing the kind face of the Lion King carved on the tomb wall and hearing his calm words about wisdom and harmony. By dawn, the team was ready again. The suns rose together, painting the sand in colors of orange and pale yellow. The camp came alive with the sound of light machines and the steady voices of her team. Ron checked the scanners. Tova packed her translation tablet, and Bren tested the communication link to the outpost. Ron looked up from his monitor. "Captain, the signal is stronger than yesterday. It's like the tomb is calling us deeper." Mira nodded. "Then we follow the call, but carefully. We respect this place as always." Bren smiled slightly. "At least the golden lions seem friendly. I can live with that." Tova closed her tablet. The last message from the tomb said, "Those who walk in harmony walk with truth." Maybe today we find the truth itself. The group climbed into the rover and drove through the cool morning air toward the canyon. The sand shimmered as they moved, and the faint rhythm of the tomb's pulse could be felt even above ground. When they reached the slab entrance, Mira placed her hand on the crest once more. "We return with open hearts," she said. The golden light appeared again, tracing the shapes of the lions. The door opened smoothly, revealing the familiar staircase glowing softly beneath them. The descent felt warmer now. The air carried a pleasant scent of stone and light mixed together. As they walked, the walls brightened as if greeting them. Each step echoed gently like a musical note. They passed through the guardian hall where the two golden lions still stood. Their eyes glowed calmly. Mira nodded to them. "We thank you for watching over this place," she said. The lion's eyes brightened in answer, and the gate behind them opened without sound. The team entered the long golden corridor. Beyond it, the narrow passage from yesterday had changed. The light was stronger and the air felt alive. Tiny particles of gold floated in the air, moving slowly like glowing dust. Tova whispered, "It feels like walking through sunlight itself." Ron scanned the air. "These particles are made of energy crystals. They react to sound and movement. This is living technology." They followed the corridor as it curved downward. It led to a wide circular chamber larger than any they had seen before. The floor was made of polished stone that shone like glass. In the center stood a huge structure shaped like a reclining lion carved from crystalline metal. The lion's mane shimmered with golden light that flowed like water. Mira stopped at the edge of the platform. Her voice was low with wonder. The chamber of the Lion King, the air in the room hummed gently. The walls were covered with carvings showing the story of the Lion King from birth to his reign. They showed him teaching many species, building bridges of peace and sharing his wisdom among stars. Above the carvings, small lights glowed, forming constellations that slowly moved across the ceiling. Tuva began to read the symbols carved around the base of the lion statue. It says, "Here rests the Lion King, guardian of unity, keeper of the golden truth. His spirit lives within light to guide all who come." With honest purpose, Ron looked up at the giant figure. "The energy here is incredible. It's stable and pure. I think the crystal itself is alive." Mira approached the lion statue. She placed her hand near its paw, but did not touch it. "He was not buried in darkness. He sleeps in light." As she spoke, the statue's eyes began to glow. The golden light grew brighter, spreading across the walls. The air vibrated softly. The team stepped back, watching as a sphere of light rose slowly from the chest of the statue. It floated above the floor, glowing with soft white and gold. Bren whispered, "Is that him?" The light expanded until it formed the shape of a tall figure. The Lion King appeared before them, made entirely of golden energy. His mane flowed like sunlight. His eyes were kind and calm. When he spoke, his voice filled the chamber like gentle music. "Travelers of the stars," he said, "you have reached the heart of my rest. You have come with respect and patience, and the guardians have seen your truth." Mira stood straight, her voice steady though her heart beat fast. "We are honored to stand in your presence. We came seeking knowledge, not treasure. We wish to understand your wisdom." The Lion King looked at them, kindly. "Many ages have passed since my world was full of life. My people built the golden beast to guard this tomb, not to keep others away, but to find those who carry peace in their hearts. For knowledge is safe only with those who cherish peace." Tova listened closely. "Your message has survived through legends and stories across many worlds. People still speak of you." The Lion King nodded slowly. The stars remember those who choose harmony. Keep my memory alive. I did not rule through fear. I ruled through balance. Every voice was part of the same song. When that song faded, I chose to sleep until new singers would come. The light around him pulsed gently. The team stood silent, feeling warmth spread through the air. The chamber seemed to breathe with the same rhythm as his words. Mira asked softly, "Why call us now?" The Lion King's golden eyes turned toward her. Because humanity has walked far and learned much, yet still forgets that power without kindness breaks harmony. You stand between past and future, you may carry the song again. His gaze moved to Ron. Builder of machines, remember that every tool must serve creation, not control. Then he looked at Tova. Seeker of words, remember that every language is a bridge, not a wall. He turned to Bren. Traveler of skies, remember that every journey has a home. Finally, he looked back at Mira. Leader of hearts, remember that strength shines brightest when it protects peace. Mira felt the words settle. Deep inside her, she bowed her head. We will remember and share your message. The Lion King raised his hand. The light from his form flowed into the crystal lion behind him. The statue began to glow brighter. The walls of the chamber shifted, showing moving images of galaxies, stars, and planets forming together in patterns of harmony. The sight filled the air with quiet wonder. This knowledge belongs to all who walk with respect. The Lion King said, Take what you can carry, not for power, but for growth. The tomb will guide those who listen. Rand's scanner lit up with hundreds of new signals. Captain, the data flow is huge. It's like the tomb is giving us access to its memory core. Tova smiled in awe. We are watching history, older than our species, Bren whispered. It feels like the stars themselves are speaking. The Lion King raised his hand once more. When you leave this place, remember the light of understanding never fades when shared. The guardians will remain. To watch and protect. They are not beasts of gold, they are the spirit of unity given form. The golden light around him began to dim slowly. The figure of the Lion King grew softer until he became part of the glowing sphere again. The sphere floated back to the heart of the crystal statue and settled inside it. The room grew calm. The light returned to a gentle shimmer and the air stilled. Mira looked around at the quiet chamber. He is gone, but his presence stays. Tova wiped her eyes and smiled. He spoke to us like a teacher, not a ruler. Ron touched the smooth floor. Every part of this tomb is alive with his message. Bren looked at the ceiling where the constellations still moved. I think this place is still watching. Us, it knows we understand now. Mira stood in silence for a long moment. She could feel gratitude fill the air. The golden lions on the carvings seemed to shine a little brighter, as if proud of them. Finally, she said, We have found the wisdom of the Lion King. Now we carry it back to the living worlds. They began to pack their equipment, taking careful scans of every carving and light pattern. When they turned to leave, the path behind them lit up again, guiding their way. The glow was warm and peaceful as they passed through the last corridor. The golden guardians appeared again, their eyes bright and calm. They bowed their heads slightly as the humans walked by. The gesture filled the team with quiet honor when they stepped out into the canyon. The suns were already setting, painting the sky with soft gold and pink. The sand shimmered like liquid light. Mira looked back at the entrance. The golden glow faded as the door sealed once more, leaving only the whisper of wind. He trusted us with his truth, she said. Now we must share it. Tova smiled. The tomb may sleep again, but its light will travel with us. Ryan looked at the horizon. The data we carry could change everything we know about peace and technology. Bren nodded. And maybe remind everyone that strength is not about control but about kindness. Mira placed her hand over her chest. The Lion King's wisdom will live again through us. As the suns dipped below the dunes, their ship waited in the distance. Its silver frame shone softly under the golden sky. The team walked toward it together, carrying not just knowledge, but a sense of calm purpose. Far beneath the desert, the golden lions stood silently guarding the chamber. Their eyes glowed, faintly as if watching the humans leave. The heartbeat of the tomb slowed to a gentle rhythm, peaceful and eternal, waiting for the next travelers who would come with open hearts and pure intent. The sons of Aralon rose slowly above the golden dunes. Their light touched the sand and turned it into a bright ocean of color. The desert looked calm and endless. As the wind moved, it carried a soft sound like a faraway hum coming from deep below. The ground captain Mira stood at the entrance of the canyon, watching the glow fade from the tomb of the Lion King. The sand had covered most of the opening again, hiding it from the world. It looked as if the desert had swallowed the secret once. Moran joined her carrying his scanner. "The energy reading is stable now," he said. "The tomb is resting again, but the signal is still faintly alive like a heartbeat." Mira nodded. "It should rest. The Guardians did their duty for ages. They deserve peace." Tova stepped beside them, holding her tablet filled with translations. "I spent the night reading the messages we copied from the chamber," she said. "Every line carries the same thought. The Lion King believed in balance, between all living minds, not only between people but also between nature and machines. He said that harmony is the highest form of strength." Bren finished loading the last container onto their small ship. "Harmony sounds good to me," he said, smiling. "Though I still feel strange leaving that place. It feels like we are leaving behind something alive." Mira looked at the canyon. "We are not leaving it behind. We are carrying it with us." They packed the last of their equipment and prepared for departure. The ship's silver surface reflected the sunlight like a mirror. When the engine started, the sand lifted gently into the air, forming golden clouds around them. As the ship rose above the desert, the team watched the vast land stretch out below. The dunes rolled like waves, and the faint glow of the tomb shimmered one last time before disappearing under the sand. Inside the cabin, Ron sat at the console checking the data. The screen glowed with golden lines forming, patterns and shapes from the tomb's archives. "Captain, this information is beyond anything in our records," he said. "The energy patterns, the crystal technology, the memory storage system, everything is advanced, but built with peace in mind. It's a design for creation, not for control." Tova smiled softly. The Lion King was not just a ruler, he was a scientist of harmony. He built machines that could think but never harm. They were made to protect and learn. Bren leaned back in his seat. "Imagine what humanity could build if we followed that idea. Machines that heal instead of fight, cities that live in peace with nature." Mira looked at the stars appearing faintly through the bright sky. "That is what we must share. His wisdom is not a story to keep. It is a light to pass on." As they left the planet's atmosphere, the ship's sensors picked up a gentle pulse from below. The signal matched the same pattern they had first discovered. It was slower now, like a song fading into rest. The crew listened quietly for a moment before it vanished completely. "The tomb is silent again," Ron said softly. Mira smiled. "Silent, but not gone. It will wait for others as it waited for us." The journey back to the human colonies took several days. The ship crossed long stretches of empty space lit only by the glow of distant suns. During the quiet hours, each of them thought about the golden chamber, the calm face of the Lion King, and his message that peace is created, not found. Tuva spent most of her time translating more of the inscriptions. "Every story inside that tomb connects different worlds," she said during one of their meals. "The Lion King gathered many species under one idea that learning together was the greatest form of power." Ron listened while adjusting a small holographic model of the crystal technology. The energy system inside the tomb works like a living network. Every part supports the other. There is no waste, no conflict. It's like the structure itself follows the same rule of balance. Bren watched the stars outside. "It's strange how something so old can feel so new. Maybe we forgot what peace really means, and he just reminded us." Mira looked at her team. "Then we must remind others the Lion King's message belongs to everyone, not just to us." When they reached the main research base orbiting a nearby moon, their arrival caused excitement. Scientists, engineers, and historians gathered to see the Data. The golden patterns from the tomb filled the large display room, forming images of lion stars and radiant symbols that pulsed softly in rhythm. Dr. Elan, the head of the research council, stared at the projection in amazement. This technology is alive. It adapts to our systems without resistance. I have never seen anything like it. Mira explained everything about their journey from the first signal to the awakening of the Guardians. She spoke with care, not to change any detail. Her voice stayed calm but carried pride and wonder. When she finished, the room was silent. Then Dr. Elan said, "Captain, you and your team have found something that could guide not only science but the spirit of our species." "The Lion King's wisdom is a gift," Tova added. His message was clear: power is not the purpose, knowledge must serve peace. Otherwise it loses meaning. Ron showed one of the energy samples. This small piece of crystal from the tomb holds more power than a ship's reactor, but it releases energy slowly and evenly. It balances itself as if it were alive. The council members listened closely. Some looked thoughtful, others deeply moved. The discovery was not only about ancient technology, it was about the idea behind it. Over the next weeks, the team worked with scientists and leaders to study the data from Erelon. They created new energy models based on the tomb's design. The goal was not to control, but to create systems that lived in balance. The first tests showed that the energy could power cities safely without pollution or waste. Mira watched as the golden light from the test chamber spread across the lab. It reminded her of the glow inside the tomb. "This is what he wanted," she said quietly. "Light. That brings life." News of the discovery spread across the human colonies. People everywhere spoke of the Lion King of Erelon. They called him the Guardian of Harmony. The story inspired artists, teachers, and scientists. Each person found a meaning. In his message, some wrote songs about unity. Some built gardens in his name. Others designed machines that worked with nature instead of against it. Tova began writing a book titled The Wisdom of the Lion King. She used simple words, so every child could understand that peace is created through kindness and respect. She said, "If children learn this now, the future will never forget it." Ron continued his work on the golden energy technology. He named it Light Balance in honor of the Lion King's teaching. This energy does not burn or destroy. It listens and adapts. It is harmony made real. Bren became a pilot instructor, teaching new explorers about the meaning of exploration. When you discover something new, he told his students, look for wisdom, not wealth. The greatest treasure is understanding. As time passed, the small outpost team became known across the colonies, not as heroes but as messengers of peace. They never claimed ownership of the discovery. They said the tomb had chosen them only to carry the light forward. One evening, Mira stood again before the large window of the research base watching the stars. The room was quiet, except for the soft hum of the station. She thought about the Lion King's words and how they still echoed in her heart. Tova entered the room and stood beside her. "Do you ever wonder if he knew we would come?" she asked. Mira smiled. Maybe he did. Maybe he believed that sooner or later someone would listen and understand. Tova nodded. The tomb was built to test hearts, not minds. Only those with peace inside could reach the chamber. He must have known that when the time was right, humanity would be ready. Mira looked at the stars again. We still have much to learn, but now we have a guide. Far below on the desert planet of Erelon, the golden tomb lay silent. The sand covered its entrance once more, but deep inside the golden lion still watched. The crystal lion in the central chamber glowed, faintly as if dreaming. The pulse of the tomb matched the rhythm of the stars above. The guardians stood still, but their eyes flickered with soft light. A whisper moved through the chamber, not a sound, but a feeling of calm hope. The Lion King's voice seemed to echo in the quiet air. Light travels farther when shared. Back in orbit, the human colonies began to build new centers of learning dedicated to peace. Each building carried the mark of the golden lion carved above its entrance as a promise of unity and respect. Scientists worked side by side with artists, farmers, and children, all inspired by the same idea that harmony was the truest power. Mira visited one of the new centers years later. The hall was filled with young students, studying models of the Golden Tomb. They asked her questions about the guardians and the crystal lion. She told them the story simply, without grand words, just as she remembered it. He was a king who believed every life was a part of the same song, and he taught us to listen. When she left the hall, she looked up at the twin suns shining over the gardens. The air was filled with laughter and light. She smiled, knowing that the Lion King's wisdom had become part of humanity's new dawn far. Across the stars on Aralon, the golden sand shimmered again for a moment. The shape of a lion's face appeared faintly in the dunes before fading back into the desert. The guardians still stood at their posts, calm and patient. Their task was complete, yet eternal. And somewhere in the quiet heart of the tomb, a gentle pulse continued to beat, carrying the same rhythm that once called to the stars, the rhythm of unity and peace that would never fade, as long as someone remembered the Lion King of Aralon. The end.